Welcome to Jaunty Haunts, the podcast about all things supernatural. After 30 years of keeping a secret, I'm finally ready to share with the world that I see ghosts. Yep, I've been having conversations with the other side while trying to keep up appearances. This podcast is all about getting spooky and connecting with others who might also sense, see, or feel things beyond the ordinary. We'll swap true tales of the seen and unseen and maybe even laugh about the weird stuff we've experienced. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, come join me as we explore the paranormal. Let's connect, share, and maybe feel a little less crazy together. Welcome to Jaunty Haunts. What would you do if you saw yourself? Not in a mirror, not in a photo, but standing across the room, staring right back at you. Or across the platform waiting for a train, or in a huge crowd of people. There you are, staring back at you. Tonight, we're diving into one of the most chilling phenomena in the paranormal. Doppelgängers. Exact doubles, living reflections, entities that look like you, move like you, and sometimes act without you. Across cultures, seeing your double has been considered an omen, a warning, and in some cases, a sign that something is very wrong. Stories range from brief, fleeting glimpses to encounters so real, so physical, they leave people questioning everything they thought they knew about identity itself. Joining us is M, host of Chillers and Thrillers podcast, to explore these eerie encounters and the unsettling question at the center of it all. If something out there can be you, where does that leave the real you? So tonight, keep your eyes open, listen closely, and if you hear something move when you're alone, don't assume it's just your imagination. I'm your host, Courtney, and this is Jaunty Haunts, where reality has a way of doubling back on itself. Let's meet your other half. The CASPER rating of this episode is 4. Hey listeners, I hope you are having a beautiful Monday. I am so excited for you guys to hear this episode. It was such a wonderful experience recording with M, and if you haven't yet listened to Chillers and Thrillers, the podcast, go take a listen. M does a wonderful job of creating, an audio experience that guides you through really well-researched stories, and it's some really wonderful storytelling. So anyway, it was such a pleasure having M on the show and talking about something that really scared her. I've always thought of doppelgangers as creepy, but I think I only had the sort of Vampire Diaries version in my mind. But doing more research and talking with M, I think this sort of really created a new fear within me. So anyway, I hope you enjoy the episode and, maybe get a tattoo or something so you can always tell yourself apart, or your family can tell yourself apart. I guess always check twice if you think you see someone in a crowd that looks like you. Okay, listeners, I'm so excited today. We've been trying to coordinate this for quite a while. We've got M here from the Chillers and Thrillers podcast. We are going to be talking about a particular topic today, doppelgangers. But before we get into doppelgangers, the history and why they are horrifying to us, can you tell us a little bit about the show and I don't know, maybe you're sort of, I was going to say what you love about the paranormal, but I don't know, sure, what you love about the paranormal. Let's do it.
Yeah, for sure. So thank you so much first, Courtney, for having me. I'm so happy, like you said, that we could finally coordinate this. And yeah, my name is M. I'm the host of the paranormal podcast, Chillers and Thrillers. What I love about the paranormal is that it is just, there's so much variety. There's not one thing. There's so many different cultures and superstitions and stories. And then the most random things will freak you out when you're reading a story or you're investigating a case. Something that you wouldn't have thought of is just going to like give you chills. And I
Yeah.
think it's also like a universal experience. Everybody across countries and religions and languages, we just like, what happens when we pass? And paranormal is kind of gives us the answer and kind of doesn't. It's just so juicy in a really fun
Yes.
way that I've just always been intrigued by it.
Love that. Yeah, juicy is such a fun word. I used that yesterday. I was talking to the guest. I was like, "You have such a juicy, spooky brain." And he was like, "Okay." Thank
I
God
take that
someone
as a
else used
compliment.
yeah,
Yeah.
someone else used juicy. Thank God.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about sorry, I love that answer. I agree with everything you said there. Can you tell us a little bit about the show in terms of when you started it and kind of what prompted you to want to do a podcast of your own?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I started it about 2 years ago. In September, this would be my third year doing the
Great.
podcast. Yeah, which is really, I can't believe it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've had the same experience where you're here, your first episodes, and you're just like, oh, like, I've
Yeah,
learned
yeah,
so
I'm
much.
like,
Which is,
"Oh god. Should I
yeah,
should I delete these? Can I hide these and layer them in somewhere else?" Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So I've learned a lot, which is awesome. I love it. It's so much fun. Um, I started it because I really really like ghost stories. Like
Mhm.
I was a big true crime fan too. When I was a teenager, I
Mm.
actually wanted to do forensics, and
Wow.
then I found out I'm very squeamish
Yeah.
with actually dealing with those things in real life. It's one thing to read it; it's another to like deal with it. So but I grew up just being told ghost stories. I grew up in Toronto. My mom was a cleaning lady, and sometimes in the summer, we would go with her to her houses. And on the subway rides there, she would entertain us by telling us ghost stories.
Oh, that's
Or,
so
so
cool.
it
What a
was
cool
like one of
mom.
those things. Yeah, very cool. So when I've listened, to so many podcasts,
Yeah.
and I found that I had these collections of stories that I read over the years on Reddit or other websites that I just saved because I thought they were so creepy.
Yeah.
And there was one podcast I listened to. It's from a very big podcast um, production, so I'm not going to name them, but
Okay.
I was just so disappointed when I heard it because
Oh.
it felt. I don't feel like I'm kicking down because this is from a very like big podcast
Sure.
place. It was just kind of poorly done in a
Mhm.
way where it was like, you know what? I'm just gonna. This isn't. I've exhausted the list of podcasts that I love, and I love what they're
Yeah.
doing in their way. And I'm just gonna do my own podcast and see if other people enjoy just listening to spooky stories because
That's so
I'm
cool.
not as good as at research and different experiences. Like what I love about your podcast is the different stories, but your personal experience with
Thanks.
spirits, and that's
Yeah.
something that it just stands out, right? I think it's just good podcasters are really passionate about what they do. And this podcast just seemed like a ploy, like, like, oh, horror supernatural is really popular right now. We're just going to kind of jump on that bandwagon. So
Sure.
I was like, I have all these stories saved. I think I'm just going to start it. Why not? I know my mom will like it. So,
Yeah. That's
so
so
that's pretty
cool.
much how it started. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, thank you for sharing that. And I have to say I had kind of a similar journey with it, right? Along with exhausting, like you said, the list of paranormal podcasts we listen to for fun and enrichment or comfort or whatever. And then also feeling like the sense of like, I just feel like there's more to be said about this or more to
Yeah.
do with that. And then I don't know. I guess this is too maybe inside baseball now, but I'm like, do you get the feeling sometimes like I listen back to episodes and I'm like, wait, why didn't I even talk about this thing that was related to that? Or
Yes.
you like, are you judgmental of your work sometimes?
Absolutely. I think I'm
Yeah,
I'm definitely my toughest critic where
yeah,
I will hear things and I'll think like why I should have included this story or I should have touched on this because the history of certain things too are so interesting
right.
that I'm definitely very kind of critical, but then it helps me for like new episode themes and things like that.
Yes. I
Yeah.
yeah, I was just gonna say, great point. It's like luckily there's always more episodes that need to be made.
Yeah.
So if we forgot something, carry it on for the future.
Exactly.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to connect with you on that for a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, so exciting. Yeah. I know I'm going to plug at the end, but please already start. Sorry. I had a decaf coffee this morning and it's very apparent. Oh my God.
It's all good.
Can you tell listeners now where to
Mhm.
find you, where to listen? Because your show's great. I want
Yeah.
people to be able to hear it.
Thank you. Yeah, on I think any really podcast platform, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you kind of listen to your podcasts. I also have my episodes up on YouTube. They're not videos, they're just kind of like a campfire background if you
Love
just
it.
want to have something going on in the background. And then I also have a Patreon. It's $3 a month for 2 bonus episodes and kind of you
Nice.
can join for free and I post like inspirations, like things that are making me getting those creative juices flowing and thoughts I have about specific themes and stuff like that.
That's great. Yes. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing. Please
Yeah.
go and check her out, you guys. Okay. The the topic of doppelgangers now. Sorry, I don't know why my mind is going straight. It's jumping ahead to too many other things. So let me just read. I'm going to read my little intro
Yeah, yeah.
script to sort of set the vibe, okay? So, doppelgangers, seeing yourself. What if you saw yourself across the street? Tonight on Jaunty Haunts, we're diving into doppelganger lore. Doubles, fetches, spirit twins. In German folklore, seeing your double was an omen of death. In literature, doubles often symbolize fractured identities, but modern neuroscience documents, don't know how to say this word, I'm going to give it my best shot, Heotoscopy. Heotoscopy? It's Heautoscopy. Heotoscopy. Let's try that. A condition where individuals perceive a double of themselves during a neurological disturbance. So, is the double spiritual warning or a neurological mirror glitch? And why is it so deeply unsettling? Let's meet ourselves. I pitched a few topics over to you, and you were like, "Doppelgangers, that scares me so bad." So what is it about the topic of doppelgangers that you wanted to kind of dissect tonight, and also that
Yeah.
scares you about it the most?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like it's one of those things that I think maybe like an animalistic part of me just
Mm-hmm.
like is repulsed by it. It's just a
Oh,
feeling of like extreme fear because for me, this was one of the episodes I included in my first season because it's just like what do they want? Like what do they
yeah.
get out of like you know what this idea that there is this being that either imitates us or is a version of us,
Hmm.
what is the end game? And
Yeah.
most of the stories that I found with doppelgangers usually are like in-house hauntings. People experience it in a house, but there's a few where it kind of seems like somebody it was I brought the stories too where it was like their friend but not really and it's just this terrifying realization of like what was this thing that was with us and it just there's something in my gut that is just absolutely terrified of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because at its most basic concept, it seems like, well, it's just someone who looks identically like you. But then when you get into the lore and the spiritual aspect of it being this omen of death or like a shadow self or like a demon thing, like, well, that changes it quite a bit, right? Um,
Exactly.
the idea too that doctors have sort of a neurological explanation is kind of funny to me because most of the real life or Reddit stories I've heard, it's like they look like them, but they're wearing different clothing and they're doing different actions, right?
Yes.
So I'm like, how
Yeah.
could that be just like a, ooh, I'm seeing double type thing, you know? That'd be a more psychotic break if you're seeing someone who looks just like you, but is wearing different clothes and is doing different actions or has a purpose, right?
Exactly. And it's
Yeah.
also like, is that, and you know, it's an episode, but if it's a neurological thing, would it not be reoccurring or
Mm-hmm.
have long lying underlining effects
Yeah.
to explain this one off experiences that people have?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, okay. Before I keep pondering, I'm just gonna read a little bit more here.
Then-
Okay, great. So the angle here of unlike ghosts, doppelgangers weren't dead. they were you existing somehow outside of your body. And I know I said I'm not going to ponder, but here, this is where I'm thinking, right? About doppelgangers.
Mm-hmm.
If they are us existing outside of our bodies, I've always pictured it as like, oh, it's a coincidence more so than like, oh, someone
Right.
in Russia was born and they look just exactly like me. But I like how in different texts and historical documents and stories, it does seem like this thing of the identity or the soul is almost splitting, or
Right.
it being a harbinger. So now the question I have here is, why is the idea of seeing yourself more disturbing than seeing like a ghost?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think it's this idea of like if you believe in this concept of your soul or your spirit, seeing yourself, it's not like, does this thing have a soul? Does this thing have, like, if it's a copy of me,
Mm-hmm.
it's not me. So,
Right.
it's this existential kind of question of, if it is me, how is that possible? And if it isn't, then it's not possible that it has, like, an essence, like a human essence to it.
Right.
And I think that that's one of those things where it's just off-putting too if you don't have a twin, like,
Yeah.
and you're walking down the street or you're in your house and you see yourself, it's just so unnatural, where with ghosts, you kind of you expect it to be unnatural because it's a ghost. So if you see
Mm-hmm.
something moving by itself or you hear strange sounds, you're just like, you're terrified, but it's also, oh, that's a ghost. When you see
Right.
yourself or a loved one that you know it's not them, I think that that gives it a deeper layer of, this isn't somebody who's deceased and their spirit is trying to communicate.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily demonic, because when it's a demonic entity, it doesn't really present itself. So, what exactly is this thing?
Right. It feels more like we can separate ourselves from it of, oh, a ghost is spooky and that's happening and it might scare me, but
Yeah,
there might even be a way to like deal with it. Whereas
right.
seeing what you think could be yourself or a version of yourself is uh disturbing at like the highest level, because it's like,
Yeah.
I don't have a solution for this.
Yeah, exactly. And does it want to replace me? Like, it doesn't want
Oh,
to
that's what
take
I was gonna
over?
say. Yeah, like my mind immediately starts running into like the versions, right? Like, oh, am I a different version? Am I the original? Who is this? What is that? Like, were they here first? Are they seeing me and thinking the
Right.
same thoughts that I'm thinking? Like, it's so, but it's like, or it's like, is it super creepy? Where anytime I've pictured like the most horrifying version of seeing a doppelganger, it's just like them staring at you and like having just a slight smile. It's
Yeah.
like, okay,
Yeah,
well, something's gonna happen.
exactly. Yeah, it's something menacing for sure.
Well, great. We kind of touched on it, but that leads me to my next question of, did people believe the double had its own consciousness or intention? I'd say yes, right? Maybe not
Mhm.
consciousness, but
Yeah.
definitely intention, right? Whether it is the
Yeah.
harbinger of death or it's there to, like you said, replace you or do something, or it's there for a reason, right?
Yeah, exactly. I know that, like you mentioned in German folklore, it's a bad omen for sure. And I believe it was Abraham Lincoln saw his doppelganger, um, a I believe a week. I should know this because I included it in one of my episodes, but shortly
Okay.
before he passed, he saw his
Wow.
doppelganger, and his doppelganger that he saw, though, his experience sounds more like an omen of death because it looked deathly pale, like it looked
Mm,
like it had passed already. But then there's other people who they have experience with a doppelganger, but it seems more menacing in that it's like teasing their
yeah.
family or teasing them with their appearance.
Mhm.
And that kind of falls into, I just did an episode on trickster entities. And tricksters, depending on which culture, it's they feed off of fear.
Right.
So it's also that idea of, are the doppelgangers these kind of trickster entities because they feed off of this fear? This is how they kind of remain
Yeah.
powerful or remain alive.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, that kind of made me think of an episode of Spooked where they talked about the domovoi and how it was like a shape shifting thing, and it would be like a little man or a snake or whatever because it existed off of scaring like the children in this family.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh. Um.
Yeah. Off topic, but I love Spooked. I love, love, love
I
Spooked. It's one of
know.
my favorite
Spooked.
podcasts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's top three for sure. It's the
Yeah.
first one that got me into. It was the first podcast I ever listened to, though. Honestly, it really
Yeah.
was.
Me too.
Really? How cool.
Yeah.
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 Shout out Spooked again. Oh, you mentioned the great one about Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
That's so nasty and scary.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, definitely.
so Johann Wolfgang von Goethe's doppelganger encounter. The famous writer claimed he once saw himself riding past on a road wearing clothes he didn't yet own. Years later, he unknowingly wore that exact outfit and traveled the same path. So, some see this as a glitch in time, others as a psychological projection. Um, it's chilling because the sighting wasn't just a double, it seemed to predict the future. And this is
Hmm.
also what I was saying earlier when I was like, I'm pondering some things here because a lot of these doppelganger, experiences at least, not something that's in history or lore, a lot of these just seem like time slips to me, right? It seems more like we're calling things doppelgangers of, oh, I think that's me, but it's just like, oh no, you're just seeing 2 weeks ahead, right?
Yeah, where it's like the term I've used before is like a time rub, where
Well, that's
if
fun.
you see time as like a ribbon, it's when those 2 points kind of rub on each other and intersect. So you're
Oh, I love that.
seeing yourself. And I did a story in one of my podcasts where it's a young girl and she sees somebody waving at her from a parking lot.
Yeah.
And then 2 years later, she's looking out that window. It's her grandmother's new house. And she looks out the window and she sees herself in the parking lot and she starts waving.
Oh my
So it's like, yeah.
gosh. Oh, I love those kinds of stories, though. Those
Yeah.
are so
Me too.
cool.
Yeah.
There was one. No, I'm going to go too off topic. It's too long of a story. Anyway, yes, very cool story.
Yeah.
So, why do so many doppelganger stories involve time distortion? I think that's something, kind of just, I love what you said about the time rub, the ribbon.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on a sort of distortion of time, especially thinking about Abraham Lincoln and like seeing almost a dead version of himself? Or
Yeah. I think that's really interesting because with doppelgangers, you kind of have to split it into a more sinister experience and then
Mm-hmm.
a more innocent kind of where you don't really interact. You see your doppelganger, but you don't interact with it in a way that you
Right.
would with the more sinister one, or it doesn't seem to be kind of teasing you.
Yeah.
With those, it's interesting because it's, you could spend your whole life trying to figure out what would that be. Is it something so powerful that it is a premonition? Is it just this, glitch in the matrix kind of event where you
Yeah.
just at the same time, in the same location, you see this version of yourself?
Right.
So it's really, I'm not sure because it's not like it's such a strong event. It's not like a
Yeah.
powerful event like Abraham Lincoln's death that you would
Right.
see it if you're
You're
just seeing
like, he's
yourself in
just
a
on a
car.
horse. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, or you're just waving at yourself in a parking lot because it's just kind of like it's so
Feels
uneventful,
unremarkable.
really.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I'm going to read a couple more here. In the Great's death omen, according to legend, Catherine's servants saw her double sitting on the throne while the real Catherine was elsewhere. When told, she reportedly ordered guards to shoot the apparition. She died shortly after. So the idea of this again of doppelgangers as a harbinger of death. The double wasn't passive. It appeared in a position of power. I think that's kind of a funny one too, knowing that it was like, well, kill it, and then she died. I wonder if there's sort of an
Yeah.
energetic connection to that too. I
Right.
don't know, like maybe trying to prevent again another omen thing of or time rub, time slip of I don't like that, kill it, and then now you're almost bringing it upon yourself.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing I want to talk about is bilocation, being two places at once. Some historical figures were believed to appear in two places simultaneously, a phenomenon called bilocation. Saints, mystics, and even ordinary people were reported to have doubles interacting with others miles away. For an example, Padre Pio was frequently reported to appear to followers in distant locations. The idea is that the double might not be a copy, but an extension of the self. And I kind of have a cool, not personal story about this, but I think one of the most famous ghosts that seems to be everywhere is Marilyn Monroe. And, it's like the Roosevelt Hotel. There's all these places in Hollywood and Los Angeles, but also in my hometown of Lake Tahoe, on North Lake, there's a super old casino called the Calneva. It's right on the border of California and Nevada. And there was like a tunnel from the Calneva over to another one of like the performance venues where like Frank Sinatra and the Rat Pack would be. And like, he would like have her brought over with his security to go and like be there waiting in his dressing room after. Like that was the story of like he'd have her flown up and then it would be like, hey, we're hanging out for the weekend, right? Again, how much of this is verifiable? I'm not sure. I've asked historians there growing up, like, and people doing the tours, like, is there like paperwork on this? And they're like, no. But I did have a friend, Anna, who worked down in one of these casinos where this dressing room was, where she was supposedly hanging out all the time, and many reports of seeing her spirit there. And Anna, my friend, had a story where she went in one night to grab some things, and she was cleaning and neatening up for a different performer to come in, and she said she got like this whiff of this like very strong smelling perfume out of nowhere and a very cold spot. And she said, I just felt this immense like longing and sadness and sort of cloudiness. And she's like, I'm so sure that was Marilyn Monroe. So just kind of a cool story, but
Yeah.
an example of even in the afterlife, I think spirits being able to split themselves, having extensions of the self. And especially I think with family members and loved ones, right? How many of us have lost someone and maybe we have siblings and it's like, oh my gosh, I felt grandma last night, and it's like, oh weird, I did too. And it's like, well, you're in California and I'm in New York. But I think there's
Yeah.
validity to that. What are your thoughts on sort of splitting spirit?
Yeah, I completely agree because I think there's this idea that we have of like what time is and reality is. But
Yeah.
when we're thinking about the spiritual world or the afterlife, I don't think that there is a concept of time. And
Mm.
it's more of slipping in and out of kind of like the best thing I can think of is like Monsters Inc., where they go through the door
Oh,
and
I
they're in a
love
different room.
that.
It's kind of
Yeah.
like that's, for them, it's just, but because there is no time, for us, it feels like they're two places at once. But for them, it's just like they're just visiting a location and there
Right.
is no concept of on this day on Saturday at 3 p.m. I was two places at once. It was just
Right.
for us because that's how our human brains process it.
Right. That's
Yeah.
so cool. I love the metaphor of the doors for
Yeah.
the spirit world. I think there's a lot of accuracy there. It's at least what I would hope because of thinking of things like this. Well, a ghost can't be two places at once. Like I've heard a lot of podcasters in the paranormal venue say as well, like, well, ghosts are just trapped spirits, like they're trapped in places where they've died. And it's like that is such a specific case. I personally
Yeah.
believe for a spirit. I think that's not all ghosts, it's not all spirits. I think some can move, some can, like you said, kind of choose what door they want to go through that day. For me, I believe it's how the life you lived and how you passed involves where the energy is sort of kept or where the spirit goes after that, I guess. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
really broad question, but what are your thoughts on that of like traveling spirit?
Oh, I completely agree. I think that
Yeah.
with the paranormal, it's just you cannot categorize everything. It's kind of like animal species. There's so many different types
Mm, yeah.
of paranormal events and entities that you can't you can't stick to this concept of a place is only haunted because somebody died in it.
Right.
because there's like residual hauntings where it's really just, it's kind of like somebody's just living out their day to day, but they don't really
Yes.
interact. So that could just be somebody's energy or essence is left over, but their spirit isn't actually there. And then there's poltergeists. And
Yes.
then, like you said, or somebody did pass and they're kind of trapped because they either don't have the concept that they passed or it was traumatic, so it leaves an imprint. And then there is just, you'll see stories sometimes of somebody who was like, it's a brand new house, nothing ever happened on the land, it's
Yeah.
uneventful. After 2 years there, suddenly this starts happening. And I didn't play with the Ouija board, I didn't do anything. Like, what?
Right.
So those are kind of, that's why you can't really stick to these. Oh, sorry.
That
You can't.
scared me so bad. I was like, oh my God.
I kept my notes beside me
That's
on my
okay.
phone, and I'm just because I didn't want to keep clicking off. So
Yeah. No, that was brilliant. You got me good. Ooh, all scared out. Okay, I'm gonna jump back to sorry, finish your thought. I don't want to cut you off.
No. Oh, good. No, I think that there's just so many different things, really. It's this innate, it's just energy. And again, things we don't really know, we can't really explain. So you can't really stick something as mysterious as the paranormal into a box and say that's the only explanation there is.
Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to have a sense of openness to all of this.
Exactly.
I had an interview yesterday with a guest, and we were talking about how truly close and almost the same thing science and magic are, right? It's just looking
Yes.
at it through a
Yeah.
different lens. And I think all of it involves a sense of openness, right? Being willing to witness, experiment, try, and hear about people's theories and explanations, I think.
Yeah. I completely agree. I think as with anything, there's people who are going to try to take advantage or make money off of something. You're going to find that, I
Yeah,
think, in any really group of people.
of course.
Um, but you definitely have to just be open because we don't really know. There's so many unexplained things. And as much as we are technologically advanced right now, there's still, they're finding new species of frogs in the
Yeah.
rainforest or bacteria that
The
eats
ocean.
plastic. So, oh my
Yeah.
gosh,
Oh my God.
don't get
That's a
me
whole
started.
episode in itself. That's the next time you
I
come
am
on. It's
terrified
just
of the
talking about the
ocean.
ocean. I'm so
Just
scared of the
ocean, yeah.
ocean. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much for hanging out with me on Jaunty Haunts. I appreciate you choosing this over peace and quiet. If you've got a story, something weird, creepy, or just deeply questionable, send it my way. Email, Instagram, or by way of crow. I'll take it. I'd love to read it on the show. And if you're craving more spooky vibes, check out some of my favorite podcasts: Spooked, a funny feeling podcast, and Ghosted with Roz Hernandez. For horror, paranormal, and all-around unsettling fun, go show some love to our podcast friends: the Opening Kill podcast, the Red Treehouse podcast, Ghost Binkers, Believing in the Bizarre, Let's Talk Terror, I Scream, You Scream, Ghost Gossip podcast, Seance with My Siblings, the Ghoul Friend Hour, Close Encounters Club, and the list keeps growing. If you are a podcaster and you want to collaborate, please reach out as well. Follow, rate, share. Please do all the things that keep this little haunted corner thriving.
I always find that interesting where I'll say in my podcast, no skepticism, because if you're doing a paranormal show or you're in that space, there is obviously some skepticism where when you read a certain story, you're just like, oh, this feels like a creative writing exercise. I'm going to just respect my listeners and not really share this.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to have an open approach to it when people are earnestly, recording things or documenting things. I think that it's important to just go with it with a kind of an open mind.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't mean to shit talk right now, and I feel bad if this is too obvious, but like I had an interview last week where the guy was like, he's famously skeptical, and he was really, arguing hard about what a ghost could be, because he kept saying like, well, it can't just be
Right.
like grandma died and now she's still here. Like, that's so stupid. Like, I just want to know what it really is. And and I was very proud of myself. I think I was pretty grounded. I was like, okay, if we're talking science and emotion, right? And how much energy
Mhm.
emotion carries, walking into
Yeah.
spaces where it's like a funeral or a church or a theater or a game, whatever, like collective consciousness, collective energy. You don't think like that is powerful enough to carry on from someone's death in a specific
Right.
place? And he's
Yeah.
like, potentially. I'm like, he's like, I just want to know what it is. And I said, I think you need to work on like letting that be enough though. Like maybe that is what it is,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. It's kind of like when you know somebody has entered your room or you know somebody is watching you.
yes. Yes.
How do you can't really explain in a scientific way because we don't know scientifically yet what makes us feel that. And what
Right.
how do you, it is because it's energy. We are made up of energy. So that does, if you want to have a more scientific angle to it, then if we are made of energy, wouldn't it make sense that this continues in some form in a way we just don't comprehend or we don't
Yeah.
understand yet?
Yes.
Yeah.
So well said. Yeah, and I know this is going to make me sound like so Looney Tunes, but I just got a dog. It's the first dog I've ever had, and like I'm just so in love with him. And I keep doing like energetic experiments where like he'll be sitting sleeping and I just look at him and I stare at him and I'm like, can you feel this? Do you
Yeah.
like I'm just sending energy to him, and every time, without a doubt, he looks up. Like, what? Like it's it's crazy to me. I'm like, he knows. And I'm not like moving and disturbing him. Like he'll fall asleep with me staring at him and I'll just like ping him like, do you hear me? Do you feel this? And he's always like, yes. So there's something
Yeah.
there, right? That animals I think
Yeah.
are more attuned to than humans because of society and capitalism and our time, I'm sure. But right, I
Yeah.
think at
They're on a
some
different
point,
frequency.
yeah. I think at some
Yeah.
point we were all more connected on that frequency, potentially.
Oh, I completely agree. And I think that that's also why you see a lot of children who have paranormal
Yes.
experiences or
Yes.
recall their past lives.
Mhm.
They're just not clouded
No.
yet, or they haven't been, they're not of that idea of, I heard a creak. Oh, it's the house settling.
Right.
They're more kind of that the veil hasn't come down yet to
Yeah.
the other world to them. And they are just on this different frequency similar to animals. They can just sense these things.
It's so cool. It's so, so cool. And terrifying as well because
Yes. Oh,
I th-
absolutely.
I think I'm, connected and I'm seeing stuff, especially in my own house. And the other night we had our TV turned off and on again. That's a very popular haunting we get, but it turned off and on. And then the light, like the lamp, we were sitting there and it just turned off. And I was like, okay. And my boyfriend was like, I don't like that. I don't like that. I was like, yeah, I didn't see anything. That was so weird. But like our dog had been very like, alert looking into the corner and there
Yeah.
was nothing there like the week leading up to this. And I was like, is there something in here? Like, how come I don't see it? But it
Yeah.
it's cool. It's cool to have something else cluing me in before even I can get a hold of it.
Yeah. Like validating you as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Thank you. Thanks for taking that tangent with me. I'm gonna jump into what the fetch is in Irish folklore. So in Irish tradition, a doppelganger is called a fetch. Seeing one, especially at night, meant death was imminent, but seeing it during the day could mean a long life. So timing changed the meaning entirely. Fetches were sometimes seen by others before the person died, almost like a warning system. Um, I think this is very interesting. And I think as
Hmm.
someone with OCD, this would be very difficult getting down to the exact time of day or night. Because what if it's like 4:26 a.m., like and it's dark out?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, well,
Yeah.
it's technically day, but you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
It's a
Like,
new, yeah, definitely. Definitely. That it is one of those things where who gets to say, is it considered night if it's just dark out? Because,
right.
daylight savings.
What if we're in Alaska? Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
But this is kind of a cool concept, right? Especially that other
Yeah.
people see them, and how the timing changes the meaning. And it also was interesting to me just knowing how many like harbingers of death there are in Ireland, especially so famous ones with the banshee and the fetch, and among so many other spiritual and famous cultures and cultural rituals and like almost characters in their lore that add up
Yeah.
to being like warnings and bringers of death. Why do you think that is so much more popular in Ireland? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. I think it is definitely cultural. Like
Yeah.
in just comparing it to the folklore of Brazil where I'm from, a lot of it has to do with protection or nature, the
Mm-hmm.
different kind of folklore characters that we come up with. And in Ireland, I think because it's so ancient, it has to do with this culture of just honestly, a lot of stuff with Ireland and Northern Ireland and Scotland, I always tie back to the Fae
Yeah.
because they're just so kind of entrenched in their culture historically, and
Yeah.
the idea, the changelings, that's type of doppelganger in a
Yes.
way.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I just think it's this cultural idea of, there's good and bad in this world, and it could be used to warn you, or it could be used to bring you good luck or bring you,
Right.
positive energy. So I do think it is just this, it's just such a kind of really ancient civilization, the way the Irish were before the
Mm-hmm.
British and all that stuff. I think it's just kind of still infused in their day to day lives and their beliefs.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Beautiful, beautifully said. And I love what you said about the changelings. And that was another thing that had me, sort of twisting and turning about doppelgangers is there a world where it's all just sort of a trickster spirit, and it's not one thing that arrives looking like you and leaves looking like you or is somehow just appearing this way, but it's more like this, changeling, or like I say on the show, like the flesh jaunter, like in
Yes.
American indigenous culture, like someone that can
Yeah.
inhabit something that looks like you or something else, right? Um, I personally, I feel like that seems more possible to me as instead of just like, you know, a demon spirit split version of you. What I personally think a doppelganger could be is one of two possibilities: is this sort of time slip, you're seeing yourself in a different situation, or potentially, I heard a crazy story once, someone from the future is coming back with a message, but it's you're just yourself, right?
Right.
um or yeah, it's a changeling. It's something else that inhabits many different forms, not just you.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe that too, especially
Yeah.
with when I was doing research on these trickster entities. The majority of these beliefs do come from Native American and First Nations,
Mhm.
and not just the I call it the flesh pedestrian.
Yeah, I love that one too. Yeah.
But also mimics in
Yes.
in forests or in and it's also this sometimes mimics you just hear the voice, so you don't know what they actually look like, and
Yeah.
but then there's been cases where they see a member of their camping party, or they see what looks to be a family member, but the
Mm.
voice sounds like it's delayed, or it sounds
Ooh.
like somebody's trying to copy the voice. So I definitely think it is, and it's, if we wanna take a wider view at these things,
Yeah.
I do think that over, different cultures have different names for it, so changeling or trickster type entities, but it is maybe the same essence if we're
Yes.
thinking of it in a paranormal. It's kind of the same essence, just because of different cultures' experiences and histories, it's given a different name or different role based on how they've appeared.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's I love that theory, and I think especially in America, it's such a puritanical, crazy, religious society that I think we have a lot of black and white moral judgments where it's either it's good or bad. Everything
Right.
in between is really hard for us to digest here. And
Yeah.
so I like learning more and hearing experiences of these sort of trickster spirits because we want to label them right away as like, well, they're evil. And it's like, well, sometimes they're helpful
Right.
though, right? Like,
Yeah.
so that's a
Yeah.
whole other thing. I want to listen to your episode on that. And I also want to just do more research on my own because it's not black and white always their intentions, you know,
Right.
sometimes it's harder to understand.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I know we're kind of coming up on the end here. Sorry, I'm just enjoying talking with you so much. Let me see
Yeah, same here.
if there are any other. I'm going to read through some points here. So, doppelgangers in literature, identity and madness. Writers have long used doubles to explore fractured identities, just like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I don't know if that's really doppelganger-esque because it's one person inhabiting, you know, two things, but showing the duality of human nature. Um, the core themes often represent suppressed desires, fears, or darker selves. Psychological explanations of the brain misfiring. We talked about this in the beginning, a little bit of neurological issues. So, modern science suggests doppelganger experiences could come from neurological issues like disruptions in facial recognition or self perception. So, that actually could make more sense when we're talking about seeing, you know, different outfits or different actions. If you are, you know, maybe identifying with a pattern recognition or a facial recognition um, perception issue, you know, that could make sense where you're seeing yourself, especially if you're going through something deeply traumatic. Do you think there's any validity to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's always space for in these encounters that people have or these stories that there could be more of a psychological event happening.
Sure.
And the human brain and psychologically is just also such a mystery how people
Right.
end up coping and or coming up with coping mechanisms and like you said suppressed emotions, suppressed feelings, traumatic events, that there is the belief that even in some kind of spiritual religions that not necessarily Christian, but that your spirit splits from your body in
Mm-hmm.
a way to protect or to soothe. So
Mm,
astral projection, it could absolutely be a psychological event where you're just kind of your brain is just giving you a buffer to
yeah.
handle whatever's happening.
Yeah. Yes. Ooh. Still scary though.
Terrifying, absolutely terrifying.
So these modern doppelganger encounters, we've kind of, you know, chatted about this obviously of glitches in the matrix, these common patterns, especially on online forums like Reddit. It's full of stories where people are seen in places they've never been. Friends swear they've had full conversations with them. A common pattern is that the double interacts normally. The real person has no memory of it. The encounter feels completely real. And it's creepy because these aren't fleeting glimpses, they're full interactions. So, you know, why do these modern stories feel more detailed and interactive than like the Goethe one of, oh, it was just passing in a car? It's like people are having experiences, they're fully talking to them. Like, that's insane to
Yeah.
me.
It's yeah, it's hard to explain, and I think maybe it's hard to say in a historical context, was this seen as demonic? So we're not really gonna talk about the experience
Sure.
or
Great point.
the person's lying or, it's just the different ways, historically that things have been documented,
Mm-hmm.
and that's one of the things I think I really love about as much as I hate the internet.
Yeah.
As a millennial, I grew up with the internet, so it's like I've seen, I've been part of message boards, but it's also fantastic because people can share
Yes.
experiences with one another and,
Right.
in earnest. And I feel like these encounters where people can say, I spent the day with this person and it couldn't possibly be them because they were in this other location. It was verified by their family
Yeah.
or all these other things, but me and somebody else experienced spending the day with this person. And it's interesting. I think it's more, a documentation because if you think back a few hundred years, that person is a witch or demonic or,
Right.
the person who's telling the story will be like, well, that's crazy. You know, they
Mhm.
were doing lobotomies up until the 30s. So, or just
Yeah.
like, you know, kind of confining people in asylums until the 80s. So really it could have been just that fear of not wanting to talk about it because of the stigma that would come with it.
Yes. Yeah. And right. Yes. And maybe the person who, like, say, like, sorry, I'm going into a very specific situation here, but like, if it's like,
Yeah.
these people in England, and like they went out to the
Mhm.
town for the day, and then they saw their son Frederick, and then they hung out with Frederick, and then they get home and Frederick's at home, and Frederick's like, what are you talking about? I wasn't in town,
Yeah.
and then it's like, oh, Frederick's so silly. Well, you just forgot, like maybe like
Yeah.
if there's validation more on one side of the party where like there's multiple people who saw the doppelganger, like the original is not going to be like they'll just be like, I guess I was drunk. I don't know. Like it's easy to count that out too, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Because you can convince yourself. Like I've done it where I'll
Sure.
be doing something and I'll be trying to multitask and I'll completely forget where I put, my earphones. And it just blanked out of my head. I put them somewhere. I just don't remember that I did it, or leaving the oven on, something like. So you can convince yourself like, yeah, maybe I just had
Forgot
a,
or had a drink.
yeah,
Yeah.
maybe
Right.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I guess I don't know. There's plenty of other occurrences, you guys. Like go look on Reddit, listen to other episodes that talk about this. They're really frightening, but it's fun to talk about these theories of what they could be and what they are and why they scare us. My question for you personally, is if you met your double and it felt like a non sort of threatening thing, like just say hypothetically you're both like waiting for a train, or you're on like a plane together or something, right? What would you want to ask them?
Oh, that's such a good question.
Thanks.
I I would probably ask them something. That's such a good question. It's hard to answer because it's like, do I want to ask them about some to confirm if they've had the same life experiences
You're
as me? Is
right.
this a, like, so I'd probably want to ask, like, what do you do every day? Like, what's your hobby or what's your
Ooh.
job? Like,
Yeah.
just to know, is it just a situation? Is this something dimension wise where there's paths in your life where they diverge and something else happened to this person, so they have a completely different life. And,
Yeah.
so I think just something really basic, like, what's your job? Like, what do
Yeah.
you do for fun? Just to find out how different this person might actually be from
Right.
who I actually am. I think about this show, if you've ever watched it, Fringe, which was on Fox over
Didn't.
10 years ago, I think it is.
Okay.
Great show. I highly recommend it if you want kind of like a spiritual successor to the X-Files.
Great.
But it's more, it has, I don't want to give spoilers, but there is a separate timeline and they kind of
Okay.
converge.
Okay.
And there's a character, I'm not going to give away too much so I don't spoil anything because it's a great show, very well written. But there is a character where you see a version of them in a separate timeline and their life is completely different because of one event from their childhood. And they're completely different people morally, their beliefs are completely different. And it's all down to this one event. I'm not going to it's just such a great show, but it
It
is that
sounds
idea
like
of like,
Us a little bit, the Jordan Peele
yeah,
movie. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, so I would just kind of want to get to know if it's this, is it like a different dimensional being? Is it,
Yeah.
and I think asking something basic that's not too heavy would help
Digest it.
get to that point. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Like, what's your favorite food?
And it's funny though, I feel like almost more extreme answers would be more comforting. Like if you're like,
Right.
like if they do things differently than you, I'd feel better. But if they said like, oh, I have a podcast and I work at events and I have a dog
Yeah.
named like that would be like, ooh, like
Yeah, that's too much because it's like this,
I
that's
went to
more of like,
theater
oh, so
school.
this is a mirror. Yeah,
Yeah.
So there's a mirror dimension where,
Yeah.
like you said, like us. So do you want to take over what's happening in
Yeah,
my
what are you
world?
doing here? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
oh my gosh. Okay, well, so fun. Thank you so much. That's kind of all the,
Yeah.
I feel like, important stuff I wanted to chat about and ask about. But I wanted to, before we fully wrap things up here, ask, first of all, do you have any other points or things you want to chat about, in relation to doppelgangers?
I think there's also maybe just one thing I don't touch too much on my podcast because I usually just tell really like ghost stories
Yeah.
or glitch in the matrix stories. But within the idea of the supernatural, the aliens
Yeah.
are also a possibility.
Yeah, that's very true.
Like this extraterrestrial. And I think to one story, I'll share it with you if you ever want to read it. I read it in my first season. I narrate in it's this kid who's sleeping in his sister's house and he's sleeping on the couch. His family's visiting his sister. He's sleeping on the couch. His parents are in one room, his sister's in another with her son. And he can't fall asleep. So he's trying, he has his eyes closed, he's trying to sleep. And he hears somebody walking in the hallway and he takes a look and he slowly comes to realize that this person is an amalgamation of his mom and sister
Oh,
wearing like a robe in the color his sister was wearing, but the pattern is his mom's robe. And the glasses are semicircular because his sister had circular glasses, but his mom had square glasses. And it's making these like sounds like it's trying to like look at things and figure things out.
oh my God, I hate this so
And
much. Oh.
yes, it is terrifying. It's one of my favorite stories that I read, and
Oh,
like that was one where when I first read, I saved it because I'm like I want to share this with people who are into
yeah.
spooky things, and it ends. He sees it picking up pictures and looking at it, and kind of like he describes it as making like oh, like kind of sounds like that, like it's trying to learn things,
Oh,
and it is that idea of like, is this an extraterrestrial thing that's trying to
yeah.
learn and like
Yes,
mimic and
yeah.
like copy? So it is, that's also like a possibility where it's, again, because we don't know. So for
Yeah.
aliens or extraterrestrial, is it just them opening a door and kind of they appear in a space and they're trying to like emulate what they see?
Right? Right?
Yeah.
God, that also makes me think of this gets a little like weird woo woo star CD, which if you listen to the show, I'm not a
Hmm.
huge supporter of because it has sort of like right wing influence. But it sounds a little bit like the like Pleiadian thing of like these human beings from other planets that have no human like beings that have no like emotions or empathy. So it's almost like coming down to like mimic for the night or something. Like I don't know. It's so
Yeah.
unsettling though. So unsettling.
Yeah.
Oh, what a good
Definitely.
story. Thank you for sharing that. Oh my
Yeah. Oh,
gosh.
yeah. I hate that story, but I love it too.
Yeah. Do you have any other ones
Yeah.
like that you want to share?
I'm trying to think. There was one. This is more of a mimic encounter
Okay.
where I have it here. This gentleman, it's his friend's story, but I believed it because the guy who wrote it, when I was looking at his previous posts on Reddit and I reached out to him, he's never posted on anything since paranormal. It's mainly just like regular, tech stuff or life stuff, hunting. His friend was a hunter and he said, this is somebody who would never make something up. And it was actually like a very traumatizing experience where he was hunting in this area that he knew what he was allowed by the property owner to
Sure.
hunt. And he showed up, he was, a 20-year hunter, and he sees this man standing in the middle of a clearing. And he said that it looked like a normal guy, but when he was trying to talk to him, his voice sounded like layered and it sounded like
Oh,
somebody straining, like, and then the worst part, that the part that really gets to me is, he's trying to say like, are you allowed to be on this land? Like, are you allowed to be on this property? And the guy springs back, like does like a backhanded spring, basically. and like disappears. Yeah. It's such a weird circumstance. But he
Yeah.
said the thing that got him the most is this voice trying to sound human. It's like
Mm-hmm.
again, if you can't tell, I grew up watching a lot of television and movies. And in Black,
Yes.
when the
Uh-huh.
alien is trying to talk, that's
Yes.
kind of like this weird, but it sounded double, like it was two voices
Yeah.
overlapped one another.
Yes.
So,
That's
yeah.
the kind of stuff. Again, another great story. Thank you for sharing. My God. But when people are like, I don't know how you see ghosts and like live with it. And I'm like, because
Yeah.
that's the kind of stuff that scares me. Like people who are
Right.
here and are living and alive who are like,
Mhm.
something is off, where it's like, you're not
Yeah.
of us, right? Like we can tell, like something is
Yes.
different and something is wrong. Like that is the stuff
Yeah,
that scares me. Not just like,
exactly.
oh, it's my grandma, whatever, It's like, it's okay,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's
Yeah.
so scary. Ooh, what good ones.
Yeah.
Yikes. Yeah, the layered voice too. I've heard about that a lot of like the being able to have, two different
Yeah.
voices coming through you, which again shows something's going on there.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely.
um Well, amazing. Your mom said you said your mom had so many stories she would tell you as well. I don't want to like
Yeah.
take up too much more of your time or bug you about
No.
it, but are there any fun stories that you'd be willing to share with us as well that like were really meaningful or fun growing up that you want to share with us today?
Yeah, I think the biggest one for my parents is they lived in a haunted house. And I've told this story in my podcast, but it's always been so interesting to me where they rented this house. They lived in Sao Paulo at the time, and it was in an area a little bit farther away, but it was very cheap.
Mhm.
It was in this. My mom said the name of it was called like Russian Village because a lot of the Russian immigrants originally settled there.
Okay.
And it was this beautiful older house. And my mom became pregnant with my sister shortly after getting married with my dad. She was working at the time, so she would come home really, really tired, and she would go lie down. And it was basically from the moment she was pregnant with my sister, if she were in her room lying down, this male spirit would come and visit her. And it started as just watching her. He would just kind of stand at the foot of the bed, and she described him as looking like somebody from the 40s. He would wear like
Okay.
kind of like an older suit, a fedora,
Yeah.
and it would progress into like him coming closer,
Oh.
where it culminated in one day. It was like a weekend. My dad was outside. They had dogs. He was outside with the dogs, just kind of like playing around with them. And my mom was trying to rest because she hadn't been feeling well. And the figure kind of like came up behind her and lay down on the bed behind her and pressed his face
Oh.
against her face.
Oh my God.
And my mom, leading up to this, my mom said basically whenever she would see him, and I'm not sure if you've had the same experience where you can kind of psychically connect with the spirit, where she's like, I
Yeah.
couldn't speak, but I could
You can
mentally
talk
speak
to
to
it,
it.
but yeah. Mhm.
Exactly. And she was asking like, what do you like? Who are you?
Yeah.
What do you want? And my mom would say, can I see your face? Because she wasn't able to see his face.
Oh.
And he was like, I'm too ugly. I don't want you to see me. And basically, he like laid his face across her face, and she was just like frozen in place. And it's not sleep paralysis. It was a very different experience.
Yeah.
And he was basically asking her to just like stay. And it was just, my mom said it was just horrifying. And shortly after, my sister was born premature, and my
Oh.
mom had a very difficult birth. She was kind of my sister was in the NICU, my mom was in the ICU,
Mhm.
and because of that, she had to spend a lot of time at her parents' house recovering. So she basically said, a month later, we moved out of that house. Like I couldn't,
Wow. Yeah.
nothing much happened with the baby. It was more like her pregnancy kind of wrought
Yeah.
this thing.
Yeah.
And my dad's sister had a friend who was a medium,
Mhm.
and she said, there's a few different things you can do. You can light a white candle, you can say a prayer. But if this thing is attached, it's much more difficult to kind of get
Get
rid of
rid
it.
of. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so a lot of stories like that, and just Brazilian folklore, like different. There's this folklore called mula sem cabeça. It's a headless horse with fire
Oh,
coming out of where its head should be,
whoa.
and if you see it, it's a bad omen. And my dad says his dad swears he saw this horse
Oh my
and
gosh.
different. Yeah, and my dad told me a story recently. When I started the podcast, my dad was like, "Oh, I don't think I've ever told you this story." So he'll share stories with me, but he was raised by his godparents. He has he was in touch with his biological parents, but he really mainly grew up with his godparents, and they had lived in a house where they would see the spirit of one of their neighbors
Okay.
who had passed. Like, she was an older lady, and they would see her spirit kind of just puddling around the house doing stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, just things like that. And then just like eerie occurrences, not to go on for too long, but
No, I love it.
I'm pretty sure there's something that follows my parents.
Well, that's what I was gonna
Like,
ask with the first story. I'm like, did
yeah.
they get rid of him? Like, what's the deal with
So they
that?
think they did, but like thinking back, there's a lot of these weird occurrences that would happen when we moved a lot between Canada and Brazil.
Okay.
So it wasn't really tied to location, just like weird kind of paranormal occurrences.
Yeah.
And when I moved out on my own, I never really experienced any, maybe for like
Interesting.
one or two. So it seems much more attached to them, like either one of them. Yeah. Just like strange things, things disappearing and then showing up in a completely different place where most people would just say, like, oh, kids or whatever, but it was very different. One time my mom woke up hearing a child singing and she thought it was me because
Yeah.
it sounded like a little girl singing, and it was singing like I think it was singing like a Christian song, like
Okay.
some like Bible song, like
Sure.
that you learn in Sunday
Like a
school.
hymn or something. Yeah.
Exactly. And she was like, "Oh, I wonder if that's one of the girls. I have two older sisters singing. Let me go see what they're doing. Maybe they're sleepwalking." And it was my dad singing. He
What?
was sleepy. He was fast asleep, and he was like standing because he had fallen asleep, like putting us to bed. He just kind of laid down and fell asleep beside me on my bed. And he was like, I don't know if he was sitting or standing up, but he was singing the voice, but the voice
Nope.
was a child's voice.
Mm-mm. That's nope. Don't like that.
Yeah. No.
Is oh my god, okay. That's horrifying. Is your
Yeah.
mom like really kind, like incredibly like a kind, like she's kind of known for being kind?
Yeah, she is. She give you the shirt off her back.
Yes,
Um
that's what I'm
like to the
yeah.
point where, she'll go without to help people.
Yes.
She's
Yeah.
the oldest of 7. She
Wow.
helped like raise her siblings when we moved to Canada. My parents had a really hard time immigrating and adjusting because they came without family or even like they didn't know anybody. So, but she's like a little collector of people.
Yeah.
She once anybody who needed help, they could stay with us. She would help babysit for free people's kids when they had to go to work. And so she is definitely one of those people, and my dad too, very very selfless people
Yes.
who, if I were to call them and say I have a friend of a friend who needs help, they're willing to
They
help.
would do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so lovely. I can take this out of the podcast, but I'm like just getting energetically with her as you're telling me their stories and like seeing her, and it makes me very emotional. And like I keep seeing like I don't know why the image I keep getting is like a bag and a bag and a bag and a bag, and then like the Russian nesting dolls like in within of like she'll take anything on or do anything to like make sure that they are safe. But
Yeah.
I'm seeing like this X of like there needs to be a boundary though, especially with spiritual paranormal. Whereas maybe for her, she thinks of these spirits around her like she does around the humans that she wants to help and give to because maybe they're
Yeah.
lost or confused or whatever. But she needs to do a boundary. She needs to set something because some of the spirits and entities within her like space basically are not there trying to help her, and she doesn't deserve that. And so
Yeah.
maybe there's a way, if you're willing to or want to communicate with her, that like talk to God or whoever you believe in, talk to ancestors or angels, and help them to guide you to protect you from them, because something is still lingering there in her sphere that's not helping her, I think.
It's so crazy that you say that
Yeah.
because one thing I never talk about is whenever she would drink alcohol, it would be
Mm,
like her door would be wide open
interesting. Yeah.
and other spirits would like come in.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't talk about because it's one of those things where like unless you've experienced you have this idea of the spiritual world, it sounds made up. Like it sounds like, oh, she was just drunk, but it was
No,
a different
yeah.
person embodying her.
Yes. It's like a
And
vessel because she's so open.
yeah, exactly. And that's
Mm,
what she's been told before. Never that what you've just said, but this concept of you cannot open yourself because they will take advantage.
yes.
So
Yeah.
and yeah, yeah, but I will absolutely let her know.
Great. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because again, it's if I mean, you seem so wonderful and lovely, and your parents seem so
Thank
wonderful
you.
and lovely, and especially if she's like worked as hard as she has, and she deserves a good life, especially in her older age, and there shouldn't be
Yeah.
anything lingering trying to like pick off of her. It's very like vulture energy, this thing that I'm seeing, and it's like get the fuck out of here. And but she has to
Yeah.
tell them, and that seems like it's
Yeah.
not her thing to be like get out of here, you know?
It's not.
Yeah.
She has never raised her voice. I've never seen her raise her voice.
Yeah.
And that might actually be related to, and I told a story on Ghost Gossip when I
Mm-hmm.
met with Ashley. My dad, my mom was married and my dad was engaged when they first met. They
Mm.
worked together.
Yeah.
Um, they were just friends, and this has been corroborated by many people. At this point in
Yeah.
their age, I think they would have admitted if there was something else going on. But my mom was divorced, and my dad had been engaged for about 5 years at this point, and he
Wow.
was just like engaged for the looks of it, more for like you're
He,
supposed to be engaged at this.
right.
So he ended up breaking up the engagement. A few months later, him and my mom start dating. His family loved his fiance, did not like my mom.
Mm.
And so when my mom had my sister, somebody gifted them a blanket that was black and red striped. And my dad was just because everybody was dropping off gifts at his family's house. And they were like,
Yeah.
oh, it's like he was like, everybody knew each other, neighborhood.
Yeah.
And there was no name tag, nothing. He just took everything home. And my mom used it on my sister one day because they didn't have dryers. They would
Mm-hmm.
hang everything to dry, but it was raining. And my sister, because she was so sickly when she was born, she had really bad acid reflux. And she apparently threw up all over the clothes she had. It was a cold, kind of like damp day. So my mom ended up using the blanket out of desperation. She hated it. She was like, I don't like this thing.
Yeah.
She used it out of desperation. She said every time the blanket was near my sister, she would scream and cry like hysterically, hysterically.
Oh, yeah. Cursed blanket. What the fuck?
Well, to the point where my dad got home, my sister was swaddled in like his clothes because my mom's like, there's something wrong with this blanket.
Yeah.
He ended up burning it. Um, Years later, a family member told my mom that his ex fiance sold her car to pay basically like a high priest of this
I
Brazilian
knew
spiritual
it.
religion
Oof.
to put a curse on my mom and my sister. And so I've always had this theory, my sister
Ugh.
does too, that basically like there's like a curse on my mom
Yeah.
from somebody, maybe her, but somebody with very ill intentions.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So it would make sense that there's like this
Lingering
negative
thing.
entity. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Ooh, yeah. You started telling that and you said blanket, and I was like, oh, someone fucking cursed her. That's what this whole thing is. God. Ooh,
Yeah.
that's so
Yeah.
infuriating. Well, I personally believe in as well is that curse breaking is easier than we think. It just takes a lot
Mhm.
of mental strength and spiritual protection, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't matter how much she paid that guy down there. It's like whatever. It's herbs and oils and maybe if he's real dark, some sacrificial stuff. But like either way,
Mhm.
she does have the power to relinquish that. But she has to really believe in herself, and she can do it with whatever religion or spirituality she
Yeah.
she believes in. But she has to do it. Yeah, she does have to do it
Yeah.
though. Well, thank you for
Absolutely. I
telling me
completely
that
agree.
story, though. Like, yeah, you
Yeah.
you guys gotta get on that though, because that's
Yeah.
not good.
I totally agree. Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah.
What a great story, though. What a beautiful and rich life you've lived. I really want to chat with you more, especially knowing about
Yeah.
your history in Canada and Brazil. That's so cool. Oh, I'm so happy you have a
Mhm.
podcast and you tell your stories. This is so good.
Thank you. Yeah, and
Yeah.
likewise to you. It's just like it's so I feel like in the podcast space, especially indie podcasts,
Mm-hmm.
the horror community isn't like competitive with each other. I feel like we're so
No,
open to just talking
I agree.
with
Yeah.
one another. And like I said, I've listened to your podcast for so long. I follow you on social media. It's just like it's so fun listening to you. Like
Thanks.
your experiences, like your approach to it. It's just like and the conversations you have. It's just like it's just different. It's just you have your own thing and you're not trying to chase trends and not that
No.
anybody else is, but it's like a really cool singular experience. I don't think there's anybody else who could say like they've had the experiences you've had. So it's really great that you have a podcast to just share that as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I just wanted to have a place where we can all feel safe to talk about the stuff we experience. And I
Yeah.
have to be honest, I'm nervous now. I'm nervous because I moved to California from New York and I don't experience stuff all the time anymore. Like there, my building was so haunted and New York is so old and haunted. I was seeing stuff weekly. And now I've
Yeah.
seen like three things this whole year, like in the last 4 months, and I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna lose listeners. And I'm like, well, I guess I just want to keep hearing other people's stories, like, but I'm not, I'm gonna be anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, point is, I'm nervous now because
Go
I don't see stuff all the time.
Oh, yeah, yeah, no, I get it. Go on a road trip, go to different
Yeah, that's true.
locations and
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of ghost tours down here. I'm sure I can do. I just feel like, it's energetically hard
yeah.
to do it, but
Yeah.
it's okay. If it's fun for me
Yeah.
and fun for people to hear, I'm happy to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm happy to come back anytime. And like I
Yes.
said, share any stories you have with me. I'd love to narrate them, or you can narrate it and I'll include it in the podcast and just kind of share it as well. Just I think it's like, yeah, you can never tell too many spooky stories.
Yeah, for sure. Before we hop off, is there any last things you want to mention to the listeners? I know we know where to find you on all platforms. Check out the Patreon. But yeah, plug any last things. Let us know.
Yeah, if you ever have any stories you want to share or unexplained encounters that you want to share with somebody who will never be skeptical about it, I'd love to hear it. I'm always open to listener submitted stories. Any strange experiences, even if you're unsure if it's paranormal, I'm always intrigued and happy to share them with my audience.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for listening. Remember, you are not alone if you've ever heard a bump in the night or caught something out of the corner of your eye. There are countless others who experience things they can't explain. And this podcast is your safe place to listen and share. Also, I want to remind everyone that this show is for entertainment purposes. I am not a professional paranormal investigator. I did not go to school to study this. I can only speak about my first-hand experiences. And with that, I'd love to mark the importance of spiritual inclusion. Your thoughts, ideas, and theories about the other side are welcome. And we know that so much of our common knowledge and perception about the paranormal stems from historical and cultural experiences. So we are open to your knowledge and understanding of things that we may be ignorant about or not fully understand. Let's learn and grow together. Stay spooky, and we'll see you next time. Hey ghoul friends, got a spooky story to share? Well, I want to hear about your haunts. Whether you've seen a ghost or something unexplainable, send your supernatural experiences to us at jauntyhaunts@gmail.com. That's JAUNTYHAUNTS@gmail.com. Or DM us on Instagram at jauntyhauntspod. That's jauntyhaunts.pod. You can also find us on TikTok and YouTube under Jaunty Haunts Podcast. I want to hear from you.